Hello, good day. Want to welcome everyone that is joining us today, and I'm excited to be here. I've been on for a while, and I thought that I would use today, just to update you on what I've been doing. But not just that. Today is our independence. I want to wish you a happy independence, and I want to share with you because herbs has played an integral role in our independence. And today I want to share with you, um, a little bit about that journey. Um, a lot of times during our independence, we talk about the food, which is great. We talk about the language, which is great. We talk about the music, which is great. We talk about so many aspects of our culture which are significant. But I believe that we don't talk about a very important component of our culture. And that component is the component that has kept us alive up until now. And a part of that is the herb. So I want to talk about that and I want to celebrate that. And I want to talk about that from a unique perspective. I want to talk about it from the perspective of how did our ancestors know traditionally the best herbs for a particular ailment. I still, maybe that's one of the most asked questions that I get. How did our ancestors know which herb to use and how to combine herbs for persons who have particular ailments? I'm going to give some persons some time to jump on. If you are joining us, you may be joining us from Facebook, you may be joining us from YouTube. Just tell us in the comments where you are joining us from so that we can know. So, as I said, I want to share with you how our ancestors were able to determine which herbs to use. And what I'll be sharing with you is a part of a course that we offer, which is called our Diploma in Indigenous Caribbean Medicine. So it is a course, and I'll be sharing with you just how the course is structured and how the course is offered so that you can understand it. Basically, in order to be a herbalist and in order to heal, there are a number of body of knowledge that you need to know. And so even in our course, that's how we offer our training. Our training is structured in terms of bodies of knowledge. So there are bodies of knowledge that you need in order to function. And I can tell you what are some of the bodies of knowledge. So for example, one of the body of knowledge that you need to know in this wide bodies of knowledge that you need to know is you need to know herbs, but that is not even the most important part. And so, knowing herbs based on how they look. A lot of times, people who want to become herbalists or who want to train to become herbalists believe that this is a very important component. This is not the most important component. The most important component in being a herbalist is, first of all, knowing what the body needs. So one of the first things we train persons to do is to interpret what the body is saying to you. And I'm going to show you today, I'm going to give you an example of how that is done. And then number two, you need to know, so the body tells you what it wants. So the body, first of all, tell you what's wrong. Then the body tells you what it wants. And the third thing you need to know is for every herbal action that you want, or for every herbal action that you do, you must also know what is the opposite herbal reaction. So that if, for example, you gave somebody a particular herb and the action was too much, you would know what is, first of all, the opposite herbal action to bring balance or to reverse that particular ailment. My granddaughter, come here, come say hi. Look at this. Hey, come, look at this. Look at grandpa. Look at all of these people. Say hi. Hi. Say hello. Hello. All right. So we soon go to the beach. So she's showing me a bath suit because I'm supposed to be going to the beach. But here I am, talking about herbs. We're talking about herbs. All right. All right. So soon come. Kiss grandpa. All right. One. Soon come. All right. All right. So I've only committed about an hour. So I want to wish everyone happy Independence Day. So we're going to be going through this chart. We're going to be going through this chart. I've put together, uh, I've organized a system. There is a way for you to learn. There are ways for you to learn. And the way I've organized it is very simple. It's super simple. Um, for almost anybody to become a herbalist, for anybody to understand. And I like to present things in a way where anybody that's watching. So if you're watching, just want to know, if you're watching, I want you to help me, because I want you to share it with me. Almost just give me some examples of some diseases. When we reach that stage, I want you to just give me some examples of some diseases, and I'll show you from the chart. Anand, greetings to you, natural healer. Thank you for sharing. All right, good. Thank you, Anand. So I want you, Anand, and others, I want you to share with me some ailments. Just tell me some ailments, and I'll show you how to use a chart, how our ancestors would go about determining what herbs to use and how to determine that herb. All right. So I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. And today, for today until next week, I want to, we have this product that I want to share with you. And I have a code. It's in the description of this video. You've heard me talk a lot about nitric oxide. You've heard me talk about the benefits of nitric oxide. Well, guess what? We do have a nitric oxide product that I have a 25% discount code. So we've discounted it by 20, and I've added another 25%, so 45% discount for this particular product. And the description is in the video as well as the code. So this is only until next week, Wednesday. This code is only available until next week, Wednesday. So we're giving away 25% in addition to the 20% that we have. So persons can get 3 bottles of this for as much as 45%. All right. So and that is part of our Independence Day giveaway. All right. So let's go into it. So today this is the chart. All right. Let me just show you. So I have it here. And we're gonna go into it. By the way, guys, I've also made some adjustments, and I'm going to talk about that during the presentation. So we do, as I said, we do have a course, and in the past, I've had a number of issues. Offering the course, but I have finally found a way to offer the course in a way that is going to be feasible for everybody. So persons can, and the course is organized in terms of the body of knowledge. Right? It's organized in the body of knowledge. So one of the ways the course has been organized is that it has been organized in modules. So each body of knowledge is structured in a module. So persons can learn at their own pace, and they can learn at their own speed. But the best experience I've ever had is when I used to have everybody starting at the same time, and we've been working at the same pace. So come September, the first Sunday in September, I'm going to go back to that module. Persons will still be able to get the full module, but I will be going back to teaching live. And to do that, we have a subscription program. So it's normally, each module is like $149. You can get the module for about $149, which has anywhere from 12, I believe, units to, I don't remember, but you can go ahead and look at our site. But what I've done is that I'm structuring it where I'll be teaching the class in real time and mentoring. So in addition to teaching, I've added a mentoring component, and subscription is what tells me whether somebody is serious or not. So there are some persons who just want to learn and they just want to go at their own pace, but I'm looking for persons to pour into, to spend time to develop, spend time to build. And so this is what the mentoring program is about. And let me just talk about that a little bit, because I make a distinction between Western medicine and traditional medicine. So I'm a practitioner of traditional medicine. What I teach is traditional medicine. I was trained in Western herbalism, and Western herbalism for me, the biggest difference between Western herbalism is where you learn about herbs, but it's done. It can be done 100% online. The way you learn about herbs is that you learn about dead herbs. All right. So you learn about dead herbs. You learn about the properties of the herbs secondhand. You don't get a chance to interact with them. You learn about the herbs from textbooks, and then as a practitioner, you just go to the herb shop and you buy dead herbs, dry herbs, and you make them into medicine and you give them to people. That's Western herbalism, and Western herbalism is built on Western medicine. Western medicine is built on studying cadavers or studying dead bodies in order to help live people. All right, so that's Western medicine. Traditional herbalism, which is what I practice, is a very different. Traditional herbalism is based on mentoring. So what would ideally happen is that a person, ideally it would have been a child or a grandchild or somebody in the family that would have been trained and mentored to take over from the present healer. Usually, every village would have a predominant healer. Even though there are many healers in the community, there's one person who is tasked with the responsibility of providing healing for that community. So that person would have an apprentice who they would train, a granddaughter, a daughter, a niece, a grandson, a son. They would train that person. Ideally, that person would move in and live with that person. And when they live with that person, they would not only be taught about the benefits of the herbs, they'll be taught more intimate, important things. That is indigenous medicine. That is what I do. And so, even though we're living in modern times and people are all over the world, I have to find a way to duplicate that model. And so what I've come up with is what I'm going to share with you. And then we're going to go into, I'm going to share with you how our ancestors were able to determine herbs, and how to determine the usage of herbs. So basically what would happen is that traditional herbalists don't just know, for example, like guinea hen. A Western herbalist would know guinea hen, and what they would know would predominantly be what they would have read in the books or so on. But for a traditional herbalist knows guinea hen in its green form. Very importantly, they know the herb in its live state and not only in its dead state. And they know more about the herbs because they interact with the herb while the herb is alive. And so that's very important as a traditional herbalist. You must interact with the herb when the herb is live. So, for example, there are things that you learn from the herb when the herb is live that you can't learn and know about the herb when it is dead or when it is dehydrated or when it is dry. For example, as a herbalist, a traditional herbalist knows, for example, when it's the right time to select her or to harvest herbs. Western herbalist has intimate knowledge about the herbs. They know, for example, they know a healthy herb from a herb that's not healthy. They know the soil that a herb likes. They know the temperature that a herbs like. They know all of those intimate things about the herb. They know because they interact with the herb in a live setting. So what I've done is to offer mentoring. What I've done is I have a component of the program which is online. So I encourage person to subscribe. As I said, for me now, subscription tells me that you're serious. If you don't want to subscribe, it tells me don't invest in that person. So when a person subscribes to the program, they're telling me that they are interested and they want to be mentored. That's what subscription says. So now I know who I should pour my time and energy into. And so there is an online course, right? Then apart from the online course, what happens is that we're going to have on-site. So we're going to make appointments when persons can come, maybe spend time. No, maybe they'll spend time with me. And I do have students who do that. They come to where I'm living and they spend time and we forage together. We go into the community and we look at in the wild. Sorry, we look at herbs. I show them intimate things about the herbs, how to select herbs when it's the right time based on the different phases of the moon and so on and so forth. And we go into stuff like that. The next thing that we do that's even more importantly is I work with, from day one, the minute you subscribe, we have another component, which is an affiliate program. Once you subscribe, I work with you as a mentor so that you can begin to earn and learn from day one. So it's not just that you're going to be paying for a course. For me, I'm going to put you in a position where you're going to be earning and learning. And what that looks like is I will work through you. And what you do is you observe what I do. So for those persons who subscribe, I'll tell you how that works. Once you subscribe, once you become a mentor, I begin to work through you. Initially, what you do, even though you're being paid, is just to observe what I'm doing. Just watch what I'm doing. And then when I'm comfortable that you've watched long enough, then I will ask you to work while I observe you. All right? And then once you become a little independent, then we let you go. And then we also have what is called our international guild. We have our guild program where we offer certification. So we've built a certification program for practitioners of indigenous Caribbean medicine. So, I mean, I'll have to do a video. I don't want to talk so much about that because that's not why I'm having this presentation today. Today, I want to talk about this particular system. It's called the 12 Medicinal Herb Taste Guide, and it's also in the link of this video, the 12 Medicinal Herb Taste Guide. What exactly is the 12 Medicinal Herb Taste Guide? All right. So the 12 Medicinal Herb Taste Guide is a chart that I created, that I organized, and that I organized. It's really knowledge that has been around for a very long time. And basically what it is that it's 12 different tastes. How did our ancestors know? And I know it's a little small, so some of you can't see it, but that's the best I can do. How did our ancestors know how to determine the medicinal use of a herb? We go more in-depth in the course, and I don't want to bore you with that, but we go in-depth in the course, but I'll tell you. Our ancestors, first of all, so I'll tell you how the system works. What our ancestors did, and this is synonymous with all ancient cultures. All ancient cultures use a system of using what you know already to teach you what you don't know. So, for example, in the scriptures, it is called parables. The Savior, what he did when he wanted to teach deep spiritual lessons, he would use examples of things that persons know. For example, he spoke about the sower who went to sow seed in teaching persons the importance of managing resources. So what ancient cultures would do is they would use what you know to teach you powerful truths about things that you don't know. In places like Africa, they were called fables. So a very good storyteller was called Asaph, because when we talk about Asaph and his fables, in Africa or in ancient cultures, storytellers didn't just tell stories for entertainment. Stories was a way of captivating persons to impart to them powerful truths. And so in Africa, it was called fables. And so it is true for every ancient culture. Every ancient culture uses what you know to teach you what you don't know. So one of the things that our ancient ancestors did was that they used the 4 seasons, or they used the elements of fire, earth, water, and air to teach and to communicate even more powerful meanings. So that is what I've done. So I've put together this chart. Fire, we know, is heat. It produces heat. Then there is earth, which is dry. Then there is water, which is wet. And then there is air that tends to go upwards. And basically, we're going to use that to teach you now about herbs, or how to determine herbs. So what our ancestors did was that they divided the taste, the texture of herbs into 12 independent groups. So it was originally 4. So it's really 4. So for example, let me tell you how that works. So for example, hot, which is they use the seasons, which is like summer, which is hot, to portray characteristics of herbs. So, for example, the summer is hot. Then we have the autumn. You leave summer and you go to autumn, which is dry. Then you leave autumn and you go to winter. And winter is wet. And then you leave winter, you go to spring, which is here, which is up. And I want you to pay attention here because the opposite of fire is water. The opposite of air is earth. I want you to pay attention to that. So our ancestors use what we know to teach us what we don't know. So we know these seasons. We know what to experience from these seasons. We know what elements they carry. Now we're going to use them to teach you principles of herbs. So, for example, there are herbs that are hot. And examples of herbs that are hot are, for example, herbs like cayenne pepper, herbs like rosemary, which is not really that hot, but it is considered to be hot. Herbs like black pepper and so on. Herbs like ginger, those are hot herbs. All right. So we talk about a herbs that is hot, that has fire. Then that's what you would think about. Let's look at some earth like dry herbs now. So when we think about herbs that are dry, these are herbs that when you put them in your mouth, they dry your mouth out. So when you put, like for example, when you put it in your mouth, it dries out the water in your mouth, and these are called astringent. So they are dry. So they are linked to the earth. Then you have herbs that are wet, and these are herbs that are that can retain water, that can retain fluid. So we call these herbs mucilaginous herbs like aloe vera and tuna and so on. And then we talk about herbs that are that goes upward or that cause your mouth to spring water. Right? You put them in your mouth spring water like lime and so on. So now in between the seasons, which is the seasons are summer, autumn, winter, spring. Now we know that you don't move from a particular particular season suddenly into a particular season. All right. So we move from one season to the other season gradually, and that is how we have these herbal groups in between. So I'm gonna go through them. So we have the aromatic, which is one of the first. Then we have the fragrant bitters. We're gonna go through them. Then we have the simple bitters. Then we have the astringent. Then we have the sour herbs. Then we have the oily herbs. Then we have the mucilant herbs. Then we have the sweet herbs, salty herb, and the acrid herb. Now, our ancestors came up with 12 possible tastes, 12 possible textures that plant have, and each of these tastes have a medicinal quality and also has a distinctive effect on the cells of the body. Good? So I want to show you exactly. So I'm going to use an example because, and I should say that today's lesson was inspired by Lion. I don't see him on yet because he called me, had some questions, and I was talking to him. Then I was talking to my wife, and I said, hey, this would be a nice presentation to do today to just help persons, to show you how the wisdom of our ancestors and how our ancestors were able to determine the medicinal use of a herb, and how through observation, by observing and paying attention, you can know what herbs to use. So as I said, this is one of the body of knowledge. Remember I said to you that in order to be a functional, effective herbalist, there are bodies of knowledge. Well, this is one body of knowledge, and there are some bodies of knowledge that you would need to know before you come to this. There are some bodies of knowledge that you would need to know before you come to this stage. All right, so this is about module 3 in our course. There are some bodies of knowledge that you would need to know before. All right, and so a lot of persons who are practicing, one of the reasons why they're not effective is because they have what I call gap knowledge. Gap knowledge, which means they are lacking in certain bodies of knowledge that they need in order to make use of the knowledge that they now have. So that is the reason why I'm offering this mentorship program, because I don't want persons to have gap knowledge, and I know that I'm dealing with persons at different stage of their development, but I want persons, and I can, once you meet somebody, you can know which body of knowledge they're lacking. All right. But it's important that you have you have a certain body, these bodies of knowledge before, so that you can function. All right. So let me give you an example. So I was talking to my wife, and I was talking about, for example, calcification. Now, calcification is where there is a buildup of calcium in the blood, and the calcium in the blood, because there's excess calcium in the blood, the excess calcium finds places in the body where it settles. Now, the calcium that settles in different parts, depending on where in the body the calcium settles, it may have a different name, but it is the same root problem. So let me give an example. So there is calcium. When calcification takes place in the blood vessels, it is called arteriosclerosis. So calcification is where there's a buildup of plaque inside the blood vessels that prevents it from dilating and relaxing as it should, which causes cardiovascular diseases. So that's a type of calcification. By name, we would label it as, oh, that's arteriosclerosis. So because the calcification takes place in the in the cells of the blood vessels. Calcification can take place in the eye, in the cells of the eye. When calcification takes place in the cells of the eye, it is called cataract. When calcification takes place in the tendons and joints, it is called osteoarthritis. Calcification can take place in the muscles. Calcification can take place on the skin, in the skin. Calcification can take place in different parts of the body. For example, there are certain people who have tumor. Once you have a tumor, once a tumor reaches a certain size, one thing that the tumor is going to do is that the tumor is going to become calcified, because tumors find ways of protecting themselves so that they cannot be destroyed. So, for example, I'll give you an example. The skull is made up of calcium. Our bones are made up of calcium, because calcium is usually hard and it's tough. So calcium is not bad. Calcium has its place. Now, our brain, which is soft tissue, is provided by the skull, which is made up of calcium. So it's very difficult to get inside the skull. When somebody has a tumor or when somebody has an ailment inside the skull, it's very difficult to get inside. Sometimes calcification takes place in the kidney, causes kidney stone, or it causes reduced kidney function. It can also lead to high blood pressure. So calcification takes place in different parts of the body. It has different name, but it all boils down to one thing, which is calcification. Now, traditionally, our ancestors would seek, and I'll give you some examples. Our ancestors, the goal then is when you have disease, and I'll give you one. I saw a client recently who had calcification in the gliding joints of his feet. So in his metacarpals, he had a buildup of calcium, and so when the joints were moving, guess what happened? It caused pain. And what the body does also is that how the body works is that whenever there is dis-ease, whenever there is discontent in the body, and that discontent is ignored or it is not recognized, what the body does automatically, the body escalates it to the next level, because the body is designed to do two things, and it does it very well. The body heals itself and the body protects itself. So the body always tells us when something is wrong, right? So this person had what we call bone spur, excess calcium, and the excess calcium was between his gliding joints, and he wasn't paying attention. He was feeling some discomfort, but he wasn't paying attention. So because he wasn't paying attention, guess what happened? The body decided to escalate the calcium buildup to the point where he was now having pain. So the calcification became inflammation. So we have two problems so far. We have now calcification, which is the root cause, which because it was ignored, it progressed to inflammation. Now, inflammation is a condition in an inflammation produces friction, it produces pain, it produces discomfort. And so the inflammation, because there's chronic inflammation and there's mild inflammation. Chronic inflammation is when you have pain. So you can have inflammation, but if it's not chronic, you won't have pain. You may have other symptoms, but you may not have pain. So this person ignored the inflammation until it became chronic. So now we have three problems. We have one, which is calcification, two, which is inflammation, and three, which is now pain, which is really chronic inflammation. All right? So now we have three problems, and we want to consult the chart to know how we would address this problem. Now, what I want to teach you is a system. So yes, it is good to know herbs, but what's more important is to know how herbs work, which is a body of knowledge that comes before this body of knowledge that I'm presenting with you. So in our course, we teach you bodies of knowledge to prepare you for the next body of knowledge. All right? So let's go into the chart and see how Shinora says information is so hard to get rid of. Yes, it is, but I'll tell you how to get rid of it. So let's and then there's inflammation works differently in different parts of the body, and the inflammation in different parts of the body manifests itself in different symptoms. All right, so we're talking about inflammation in this person's bone, in this person's joint, and we're going to tell you how we're going to remedy it by going through the chart. Let me see if, and I can't do anything to bring this chart up. That's why when we do a herb walk, I tell a person there's a link to getting the chart in the description of this video. So if you're on YouTube, in the description of this video, there's a link to getting the chart. And as I said, this body of knowledge is very important because it covers over 50 different herbs. And oh, here he is, dying in nature. So dying in nature, which is lion, is the inspiration behind today's video. So come on, put your hands together for dying in nature. Dying in nature was the person who called me and gave me the idea to just share this in a video, because and that's why I love presentation, because whenever I'm asked questions, I prefer to ask the question in a platform and in a way where multiple persons can benefit. So he asked me the question, and I decided to do this video because it would be a blessing to more persons than just himself. All right, so let's go into the chart, and I'll show you how to use the body of knowledge. All right, now, so when you have calcification, which is excess calcium in the blood, flowing in the blood. First of all, when you have excess calcium, it means that there's something wrong most time with the kidney. Something is wrong with the kidney. So we would need to pay attention to the kidney. A lot of persons don't clean their kidney. A lot of persons don't pay attention to their kidney. And a lot of the foods that we eat, plus a lot of the water that we drink, have added calcium to it. And so what happens is that over a period of time, our kidneys become calcified and it can't filter the way it's supposed to filter. And so what happens sometimes is that there's a buildup of calcium in the bloodstream. And once that calcium builds up into the bloodstream, the calcium has to find places in the body for it to settle, places in the body for it to be stored. Right? Now, if you know what to do, you can get rid of that calcium. So on the 12 medicinal tastes, on the 12 medicinal taste guide, we know that the group of herbs that would get rid of calcification is what we call salty herbs. So, now, I didn't tell you the name of a herb. I told you the group of herbs. And this is the reason why this body of knowledge is so important, is because I can literally go to Africa, I go to China, I go to Japan, and I can just find the group of a particular herb, and I can begin to work, or I can begin to heal myself. This is how traditional knowledge is structured. So the notion of teaching or trying to remember a whole heap of herbs is really not the most effective way of teaching somebody about herbs. That's the last thing you want to do. The first thing that you want to do is you want to know how to determine which herb. So if a person has calcification, that person needs the use of herbs that are salty. Now you know salty herbs. Now you need some examples of salty herbs. And this is important because you may be living in Westmoreland where you don't have the herb that I'm using in Portland. But it doesn't matter. You may hear me talk about a herb in Jamaica, and you're in the US, and you have a problem with calcification, but you don't have that herb. Because one of the next important thing about herbs, and there's just so much for you to learn, is that herbs grow where they are needed. So I'm going to give you some examples of some salty herbs. I'm going to give you some examples of some salty herbs. So the first thing we need in helping this person who has calcification, and by the way, calcification can cause pinched nerves. So some persons who have pinched nerves, it's not due to trauma. They didn't fall. They didn't injure anywhere. What has happened to them is that there is a buildup of calcium deposits on their bone, and these calcium deposits have caused has created what we call bone spurs, and these bone spurs sometimes now begin to touch nerves. So no amount of chiropractic alignment can fix that. If it is caused by trauma, then the best person to see may be a chiropractor, because the chiropractor now can manipulate and remediate and resolve that issue. But if it is caused by calcium buildup, we're talking about something that is even more systemic. It has to be resolved through diet. Has to be resolved through diet. So that person that has calcification is going to need some salty herbs. So as I said to you before, that as we get older, a lot of persons have calcification in their veins. A lot of persons who have poor circulation is due to calcification. Most of the time, 95% of the time, it's due to calcification. Persons who have a number of heart-related problems, high blood pressure, it's due mostly to calcification. A lot of persons who have varicose veins due to calcification. A lot of men who have erectile dysfunction, it is because they have gotten old and their blood vessels have become calcified, so blood can't flow the way it is supposed to flow. So what happens is that they're not able to function the way they are to function. So calcification is at the root of many problems. Many problems. Now, one of the solution is salty herbs. So let me give you some salty herbs. Let me give you some, and there are many salty herbs. Most of the herbs out there are categorized as salty herbs, and when you think about it, so herbs like pak choi is a salty herbs. Most of the herbs that we eat are salty herbs, but let me give you some more salty herbs. Herbs like one of my favorite salty herbs is a herb called celery. It is maybe one of the saltiest herb in the world, celery, and one of the saltiest part of celery is the seed of the celery. They even use the seed to make celery salt. That's how salt celery is. You can use it to make a salt, which is much better for you to use. So if you're having calcification, you can go to your herb shop, you can go to your health food store, and I would encourage you to change out your sea salt, change out your rock salt for celery salt. Very powerful salt. And it's a mineral, and what it does is that it removes saltification, so it removes saltiness or calcification from out of the system. So a lot of persons who have tumor, and I mean we could talk about salty herbs, go on and on and on and on and on, because so many persons, a lot of persons who have cancer, one of the reasons why they get help, and by the way, a lot of cancers, once cancers or tumors reach a certain size, one of the first thing that tumors do, because they are intelligent, is they begin to get tough. They begin to become calcified. And one of the reasons why they become calcified is because they want to protect what's inside and prevent any medicine from coming in. So sometimes you will use the medicine and the medicine will not work because the medicine cannot penetrate the amount of calcium buildup that the tumor has created to protect itself. It has created a very like how the body has the brain and the brain has a skull to protect it. The brain is very delicate, so it has a very tough outer covering to protect itself because it has something valuable. So intelligence says that what is inside the skull is valuable, so it has to be protected by a tough outer covering. This is how the body works. It's very intelligent. So the cancer wants to protect what's on the inside, causing it to grow. Hey there, Nereen, how you doing? Happy to see you too. So the cancer protects itself from what medicines you may try to apply. So within a lot of the treatments that one of the reasons why the medicines can't work, especially for persons who are using natural remedies, one of the reasons why it can't work is because the tumor has created a calcified structure around itself to protect it. The prostate, a lot of persons who have prostate cancer, what the prostate has done is that it has created a hard-like structure. Breast cancer, some of the cancers, they get tough. After a while, they get tough. And for those persons who ever use castor oil, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those persons who have calcification, because castor oil is salty. So you put a castor oil on it and it begins to soften. It begins to soften. Those persons who have terrible knee problem, knee pain, where there's calcification in the joints of the knee, you put castor oil on and you start to get relief, because what begins to happen is that the castor oil begins to break down the calcification, and once the calcification begins to break down, then movement can happen more easily. Or the medicines other medicines that you're using. So we're giving you a case study. I'm presenting to you a case study of somebody who I saw this week who came to see me. He had a situation in which in his foot, in his instep, it was swollen. It was swollen. The problem started with calcification. Then he ignored the calcification. The body said, escalate. And so the escalation of calcification became inflammation. When it became inflamed, he ignored the inflammation until it became chronic inflammation. The body knows the only way to get our attention is through pain. Pain is what makes us respond. And, yes, that's what I'm saying, Chinora. Salty herbs is used to treat calcium buildup. That's exactly what I'm saying. So once calcification takes place and it is ignored, it won't stop there. Calcification will be escalated to something else, and it is going to be inflammation. When inflammation is ignored, it is escalated to chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation causes swelling and it causes pain. So he ignored the calcification. And I'm talking to you about this case study because I want to tell you how we're going to use the chart to determine how to determine which herbs. So we gave him some calcium salts, some celery salts to remove the calcification. Remove the calcification from the joint, and that is also what we would have to use even for calcification in the brain. If somebody had a tumor, one of the herbs that we would have to use is that we would have to use herbs that would remove the calcification so that the other medicines can get to work. So one of the herbs that we would have to use is salty herbs. So we give salty herbs. So we give them in the form of we can give celery capsules, or we can give celery tea. We can also do green juice. And as I said, there are many salt herbs out there. So Spanish needle is a salt herb. Today I was talking to Lion about marigold, which is a salt herb. And by the way, and remember I said that calcification takes place in different parts of the body. Herbs like English plantain is a salty herb. Majority of the herbs out there are salty herbs. How do you know salty herbs? You taste them. So any herb that is slightly salty or bland is a salty herb. Once it's not bitter, sour, or having any other outstanding taste, it is a salty herb. That's how you know a salty herb. So most of the vegetables that we eat are really salty herbs. Right? So that's a salty herb. So that was so now you notice what we need to know. And by the way, the opposite of salty herb would be what we call a simple bitter. Because I don't know if you can see my mouse. If you look on the chart, the opposite of salty is what we call fragrant bitter. Let me go simpler. So the opposite of what we call aromatic is mucilant. Right? So aromatic brings heat, mucilant brings coolness. Whenever you are learning about herbs, it's very important not only that you learn the characteristic of a herb, but it's also very important for you to know the opposite characteristic. So if, as a practitioner, you use a herb that is too much, you know what herbs to use to give you the opposite. Because any herb that gives you the opposite reaction is what you use to create balance. If you look in the circle of that yin and yang, I'm using that to represent balance. Now, the opposite of what we call bitter fragrance would be what we call mucilant, and I'll go through them. But the opposite, each group on the opposite end of a particular group, blessings, Carlton. Each group on the opposite on the other side of the circle is the opposite characteristics of the one that we're talking about. So that's what we have putting it. I can only tell you to get the chart, because by getting the chart, you have a tool that you're now able to use and work with. Maybe one of the most valuable thing for me is this chart, because this is a chart that when I learn about the herbs, the next thing you need to know is to know where on the chart to place the herb, because where that herb is placed on the chart is knowing how to determine how to use that particular herbs. It doesn't make sense you know all the herbs in Jamaica and you don't know how to use them. It's better you know how to use a herb and how to determine the use of a herb and don't know the herb than for you to know the herbs. Which is why I said to persons, in order to be a good herbalist, you don't need to know a lot of herbs. What you need to know is a lot about the herbs that you know. So it's better for you to know a lot about 3 herbs, all there is to know about 3 herbs, than for you to know 10 herbs and don't know nothing about them. So it's important. So going back to the case study, so remember we said that the person has calcification, then the person's have inflammation, but not just inflammation, chronic inflammation. So now that the person has inflammation, one of the reasons when inflammation begins to set in is because inflammation causes the retention of fluid. Right? A lot of people get, one of the ways to know when somebody is getting acidic or when a body is becoming inflamed is when you start to put on weight. Right? Because once you start to get inflamed, you start to retain fluid in order to resolve or in order to get rid of the waste or in order to dilute the waste. Right? One way to know when you're losing inflammation is you begin to lose weight. And I mean, that's not written in stone. There are always exceptions to every norm, but that's a general rule. Good? Now, so once you start to get chronic inflammation, you start to get swelling. So you start to get swelling followed by pain. That's when you start to get chronic inflammation. So now we need to know what are the herb groups, what are the healing characteristics we're looking for that person Chinora says, but the people who have high blood pressure, can they use salty herbs? Yes, they can use salty herbs. That's the beauty about salty herbs. You can use salty herbs and it doesn't raise the blood pressure because not every chemical is sodium. Remember, no, that salt. The reason why you ask that question is because your knowledge is that when a person takes eats something salt, because salt in your mind is associated with sodium, but there are other minerals that are salty that are not sodium. Now, notice what sodium does. Sodium allows you to hold on to water. The opposite of sodium is potassium. So when you drink coconut water, you urinate a lot. Right? So the opposite of, and sodium is a salt also. Right? So the beauty with these herbs is that their saltiness is not the result of sodium. There are other chemicals inside of them, there are other minerals inside of them that causes this saltiness that is not sodium, that doesn't affect your blood pressure negatively. All right, very, very important, very, 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 very good question, Chinora. So, guys, keep on asking the question because when you ask these questions, they really help. Because I wouldn't have made that statement if you didn't ask the question. All right. So, a lot of persons associate salt with sodium and sodium with high blood pressure. Right. But there are a number of other minerals that are salty that are not sodium, and that will not affect your pressure. And so, salty herbs is not the result of high levels of sodium. Right? There is, for example, grass. If you take out a piece of the blossom out of the grass and put it in your mouth and chew it up, when the cow eat it, if you eat it, what you're gonna taste is salt. But that salt is not the result of sodium. There are other minerals that causes that saltiness, and that if you eat that, it really gives you energy. Right? So going back to the case study, so we know that salty herbs is what we would use to reduce the calcification or reverse the calcification. Let's now go after the inflammation. Now, when a person becomes inflamed, inflammation suggests heat, right? Inflammation suggests heat. So, the fact that the person, we use something that, the fact that the person is now having inflammation, you want something that is the opposite of heat. Somebody give me an example. What would be opposite of inflammation? What type of herb characteristic would we be looking for that is opposite to inflammation? Look on the chart. And we can pull it up on your screen. What's the opposite of fire? What's the opposite of fire? What's the opposite of fire? Opposite of fire on the chart. Look on the chart and tell me what's the opposite of fire. I want you to be able to interpret water. Good. And beside that, you have what is called mucilage. So if you're having inflammation, what you want to do is to cool that inflammation. So in the plant kingdom, the herb groups, the group of herbs that are going to cool that is what we call mucilants. So for persons who are having, for example, burning on their stomach, which is inflammation, what you need is something that is going to be mucilant and cooling. For even if water burn you, if you put an aloe vera gel on it, then what it does is that it neutralizes the burning effect. So what you want is a mucilant. So we would need to give that person that is having the calcification and the inflammation, we want to give them something that is going to help with the inflammation. So we want a herb that is preferably a dominant mucilant herb. All right? So from the chart there, and with all the examples, I give about 5 examples. So there's about 50 herbs. There's leaf of life, there's West Indian elm, there's tuna, there's plantain, there's a herb called gumbo limbo. Any one of those herbs given to the person would help the person with inflammation. Whether they apply topically or whether they ingest it, it would help. All right? It would help with the inflammation that is there. Now, ideally what you want is you want a herb because the main issue that you're looking for, the main issue that the person has, the root cause is calcification. So if you can find a herb, ideally what you're looking for is, and this is how you become a master herbalist now, if you can find a herb that helps calcification and also helps inflammation, that would be your number one herb that you would be using. That's the main herb that you'll be using. That is when now knowing a lot of herbs comes into play. That is when that body of knowledge becomes useful. Because when you have the body of knowledge where you know a lot of herbs, you would go into your list of herbs and you would choose to select the herb as your number one herb. You would choose to select for your number one herb the herb that would help with calcification and also help with reversing inflammation. That's how our ancestors. So, because what the cell is telling you, because there's too much calcium, there is an outgrowth, an overgrowth of calcium. So people who have inflammation like this will have bone spur, meaning that there's too much calcium in your body. So your bone is growing more bone. Your cells is telling you that. And when your cells tell you that there's too much calcium, your cells is also telling you what it needs. It's telling you that it needs something to dissolve the excess calcium. Once you're having inflammation, you're going to feel pain. And there are different types of pain because different type of pain tell us different things too. Once you're having the pain, now the pain is telling you that once it's burning, Shinora Green, do you have a rehabilitation center? I'm going to talk about the rehabilitation center, which is one of the reasons, guys, I'm going to just detour my point. It's a very good question. One of the reasons why I've decided to offer my course as a subscription is because I need a steady income. I have a number of projects that I'm working on that I can't work on them. I have a number of projects that I'm working on. We have a CBD project, which is right now we just acquired some herbs that have a high CBD content. We've acquired the tools to be able to make CBD oil for persons who have chronic ailments. So we need funding for that project. And then we are also building a retreat facility because the persons that we work with, 99% of the persons that we work with, if we had a facility where we could take them, we could help them. But I have so many projects and not enough fund. I need consistency. And so I've built a program. I'm building a program that will allow me to do what I need to do to help more persons. So back to your question, Shinora. Do we have a rehabilitation center? Not yet. We're hoping to have one next year. We're working on it, but we need more funds. We need consistent funds. So the subscription, the course as a subscription is a way for me to give value to persons, but also a way for me to raise the well-needed funds that we need in order to do what we need to do, while at the same time allowing me to do what I enjoy doing, which is like this. So I've not been able to do what I want to do or what I can do because I'm busy trying to raise funds for the projects that we have. So many people are suffering. The persons that I need to talk to and reach and train and teach can't get the information because I'm busy trying to raise funds to do what I need to do. The persons who need the facility can't get it. Can't get the help that they need because we don't have their facility because I'm busy trying to get the funds. Now, my biggest asset, my biggest contribution is my wealth of knowledge. That's where my greatest funds should come from. So I need to create a system that allows me to benefit the most while at the same time helping people the most. Right? And as I said to persons all the time, helping people and training people and telling people and guiding people is the best way to help anybody. It's not to do it for them. Even with our retreat facility, once it is finished, when people come in, our model will be a model in which while we are helping you, we are teaching you how to do it for yourself. That's going to be our most effective model. So now going back to the point that I was making, the calcification we resolve through salty herbs, and then the best herbs that you'd want to choose would be a mucilaginous herb. But for the inflammation, what you need is a mucilage herb. And then now, what are mucilaginous herbs? And let's look at some mucilaginous herbs. So herbs like, as I said, leaf of life, West Indies, elm, tuna, plantain, gumbo limbo. These are herbs that are what we call energizing. They're adaptogenic and they're immune stimulating. They stimulate the immune system. All right, and then we talk about the properties which are responsible for these herbal actions. So mucilage, gums, pectins, polysaccharides, fructans, saponins, and glycosides. These are the chemicals in the plant that are responsible for these herbal actions. All right, so basically, what we need is the salty herbs. Then we need a mucilant, and then we need a herb that boosts the immune system. Because what happened is the person is having serious pain, and another herb that we're always going to need that is we're going to need a stimulant. Whenever we make a formula, we have to have a herb that helps to move the other herbs through the body. So in our course, once you understand this, when we move into the body of knowledge, where we teach you to make medicinal, because that's a whole body of knowledge by itself, you're going to learn the 4 different groups of herbs that must be in a formula. So there are 4 groups of herbs that must be in a formula for the formula to be effective. 4 groups of herbs. And one of the group of herbs that must be in it is what we call stimulant herbs, because stimulant herbs are what we call drivers. They help to move the other herbs throughout the body. But stimulant herbs are drivers tend to be also what we call natural painkillers. They're natural painkillers. Right? So herbs like cayenne, herbs like ginger, herbs like pimento. These are herbs that help with relieving pain. Right? So in helping that person that had the inflammation, that had that disease, our ancestors were able to tap into a healing system. So what I'm sharing with you is not just herbs, it's a system. You must have a system that guides your activity. If you don't have a system, you won't know when you're doing something right, or you won't know when you're doing something wrong. If you don't have a system, nobody is able to measure your effort or to measure your success rate. So the first thing we have to do is we have to have a system, and the system must be consistent. So the results are consistent. A system is usually cyclical. We usually have winter, summer, autumn, spring. It's cyclical. It goes round and round and round. So the system must be cyclical. And a system is also predictive. We know when winter is going to come. We know when summer is going to come. We know when autumn is going to come, because it's a system. So we have the oxygen system. We have the hydrogen system. We have the reproductive system. That's why the body has 12 systems. When you have a system, it's predictable. And you can know when something is missing from the system. So what we have is a system. What I've arranged is a system of teaching herbal medicine. And so because we have a system, we can now go out there and we can now begin to duplicate that system. So what I have is, I'm no longer looking just to teach the course, I'm looking to mentor. So what I have is a course, and just recently I've been able to create a subscription for the course. It's now $39.99. $39.99. My goal is to train persons to become healers. Now, to become a healer, it's a baby step. It requires baby step. And as I said, the description for the registration is in the link of this video. To become a healer, it starts out at a baby step. Now, the reason why I've added a mentoring program is because I've been practicing for so many years now. We've built a system beyond the teaching system. We've built a system of helping persons. We've built a system of showing persons how to heal themselves, how to take care of themselves. That's a system that I want to share, not just for you to go out there and just to learn. The goal is for you to learn new things for yourself on your own, but it is to also benefit from the system that has been created so far. So what I've done is that we've created a group of products. I've built a website, and from our clinics, we've created maybe about 40 or 50 products. And the persons who I'm mentoring, I've created a way where I can duplicate myself through you. So I can allow you to have what is called a mirror site for yourself. So the persons who I mentor, while they are learning and while I'm working through them, they are now able to help persons while piggybacking off me. So, for example, if you are learning and somebody comes to you with an ailment, you may not have the supplements. You're just learning the formulate. So you've not made any formulation as yet. But we have formulations that we have put together already. So we have created a system where you can benefit from these systems. You can benefit from these products. So anybody who wants to be a mentor in our program, when you register for the first time, normally it used to be $149.99 for the course, for a part of the program, for a certain body of knowledge. Now I'm charging $39.99, but for the first time that you register, you're going to pay $39.99 plus another $99.99, and we're going to give you 3 products. The 3 products that we're going to give you are 3 products that will detoxify your body. So you're not just learning theoretically, you are experiencing the product to see how they work, because our goal is to mentor you so that when somebody gets sick, you'll be able to have this product. But it's so good that when you recommend something, you can say, I've also taken this product as well. I've benefited from this product as well. So I'm very serious now. In the previous years, I've been doing a lot of testing. I've been doing a lot of trying and a lot of trials and a lot of error. I've reached a stage now where I've gone beyond trial and error. I now have a system that I'm willing to share with persons, and I'm willing to give up my time and energy and effort and pour into persons, because I've now been able to create a system that can help the person function. So the persons who we mentor will be learning and earning at the same time. Yes. Oh, Carlton, remember to teach us the scriptures to enhance healing. Yeah. So, Carlton, remember. And if you're talking, because the last, I've been on here for a while, and I said that the next time when I come on, so I'm going to do it, I'm going to teach you about what I call spiritual herbalism, which is, I'm going to teach you about how to harness the energy of herbs. So there are some selective scriptures, there are some selective passage in the scripture that you can use along with herbs that amplifies the effects of the herbs. I'm going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you how to do that. So persons who have kidney disease, well, Marilyn, we have to know more about the kidney disease, because kidney disease is a broad term. We have to know exactly what's happening with the person, what's happening with their kidney, so that we can begin to help them. So as I said, guys, I'm doing this video because I wanted to share with you what is it that we're doing, and I wanted to, when we have these national holidays, I want to use the time to celebrate and to recognize the value that herbs has played in our evolution, in our protection over the years. So I want to spend some time on it. I'm not finished. I want to take some examples of some diseases, and then we're going to go through the chart, and we're going to look how we can use the chart to help us to know. So in the meantime, guys, just put some disease on the chat. Give me some examples of some diseases that person have, and we're going to use some herbs. We're gonna consult the chart. We're gonna see how we can use the chart to determine which herbs to use to help with those particular conditions. and this is actually content that we love to share with medical doctors, because there are a lot of medical doctors out there who don't know how the herbs work. We want to share with them the wisdom of our ancestors, and that our ancestors had a system. When you go to medical school, you're learning a system. That's what they go to school to do. They go to school to learn about a system that allows them to effectively help persons to get better. All right. Nareen says pinched nerves. Now, pinched nerves, I'm going to show you how pinched nerves. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find out, because we need to find out the cause before we can determine the cure. Now, as I said, pinched nerve is typically caused by two things. Pinched nerve is typically caused by trauma. Right? Trauma. If it is caused by trauma, which is like physical impact, maybe it may be a pothole that you fell into. It may be because you fell. Maybe because you had gotten an injury or something like that. That's a physical trauma. If that is a physical trauma, that type of pinched nerve is dealt with differently from pinched nerve that is caused by calcification. So the first thing we want to do is, and this is where medical doctors comes in. This is where diagnostic machine comes in. This is where these tools are very important, because we need to know the cause before we can determine the cure. So if it is pinched nerve, we first need to determine, is this pinched nerve caused by trauma or is it caused by calcification? If it is caused by trauma, one of the best person to go to is a chiropractor. The best person to go to is somebody who is a massage therapist, somebody who will use physical manipulation to resolve that particular problem. If it is caused by calcification, then we know that one of the things that can benefit us is salty herbs. We can either ingest the salty herbs or we can apply the salty herbs topically. And there's a number of ways we can apply the salty herb topically to bring relief. All right. So then we have high blood pressure. Now, high blood pressure is another thing that can be caused by a number of conditions. So high blood pressure can be caused by defective kidney. High blood pressure can be caused by arteriosclerosis, which is the blood vessels being narrow. My granddaughter come back. Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi. She come back because I'm at 1 hour and 12 minutes and I'm supposed to be bringing her to the beach. Eh? Is he talking to the people? I'm say hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I'm doing class. See I doing class? Say kiss papa, soon come. Mwah. Soon come. Just give me a couple more minutes. All right? All right, soon come. All right, so high blood pressure is caused by, so we need to know the cause. So high blood pressure can be caused by I see a question, Sharon. I'm coming to it. So defective kidney problems can cause that. Arteriosclerosis, high salinity in the bloodstream, high sodium in the bloodstream in the body, low potassium can cause it. Those are some of the there's high iron and thickness of the blood that can cause it. Then there's high cholesterol. So there's a number of things. So for each of those, it would be different problem. All right, so let me go through a few of these. So that's high blood pressure. So it's important for us to know the cause. And I can tell you, because the cells tells you which one. The body also tells you which one of those. So you can see you can see how in depth we would have to be, because the problem for calcification of the blood vessels that cause high blood pressure is different from the kidney. If the kidney is a problem, we'd have to resolve the kidney issues. If it is sodium, we'd have to resolve the sodium. So depending on what is causing the problem, determines how we approach it. Return to the Seed says, good evening, Dr. Israel. I'd personally like to delve into lymphedema. Many thanks. So lymphedema, which is a condition, so lymphedema also has a number of causes, number of things. Lymphedema is the result, is the symptom. So all of you, and I want you to notice, what you're talking about is symptoms. What you're talking about is symptoms. Because symptoms is how the body talks to us. But if you pay attention more to the symptoms, it tells you even more. But you just lump everything into one symptom. So lymphedema, let's look at lymphedema. Lymphedema, which is a condition in which there is swelling in the extremities of the body, especially the legs. All right. So one of the first cause of lymphedema is blocked valves. So the lymphatic system has what is called valves that regulate the movement of the fluid within your body. So there's two main fluid in your body. There is the blood, which is monitored, which is regulated by the heart. But then there's another fluid in the body, which is called a lymph fluid. Doesn't have a heart. What it has is that it has valves at specific sections around the body. Now, the valves is what is being stimulated during acupuncture. So persons who practice acupuncture are practitioner of an acupuncturist, which is one of the person that would help a person who has lymphedema along with diet. If you're having lymphedema, one of the main cause, not the only, but the main cause is that there is blockages or the valves are not working. So there are valves around the body that help to move the fluid around the body. When those valves become blocked, and then the fluid can't move, and then you have a buildup. Another thing that can cause that is the thickness of the fluid. All right, when the body becomes acidic, then the fluid, instead of being viscous, it becomes thick, and it can't move as it should, and so there's a buildup. Each of those has to be dealt with differently. And I don't want to just ask you to give me condition and then I keep blanket them and tell you, hey, Octavia, how you doing? Hey, Rosie, how you doing? Hey, Chinora, how you doing? So there is decreased vision, blurred vision. A lot of time that's circulation, especially to the blood, because the eye has very small blood vessels. Usually when there's not enough blood or not enough movement to take waste away from the body, and lymph fluid to go waste to leave in the form of lymph fluid and nutrients in the form of blood, then you have blurred vision. So we can let's take one of these and let's take one of these, because I don't want to just tell you. So we look at pinched nerve. Let's look at high blood pressure. Let's look at the high blood pressure that is caused by tell me, I spoke about some different causes of high blood pressure. And by the way, guys, that is the reason why when you go to another cause of high blood pressure can be the rate that your heart is beating. Right? So when you go to the doctor, if you notice, sometimes the doctor will give you 3 or 4 different types of blood pressure medication. Because sometimes you started out with one condition, it wasn't being paid attention to, and it escalated into a second reason, a third reason, a fourth reason, a fifth reason. So some persons are on 4 different types of blood pressure medication. It is because they weren't paying attention, so it has escalated. So Nareen Dennison says sodium. By the way, I wanted to show you this product that we have. It's this product, because I've dealt with so much high blood pressure. There's this product that earlier on I spoke about. It's nitric oxide. It's a product I've put together because of the amount of persons that we're seeing. I've put in the description. I want to give away 3 bottles. I don't what's the cost of it? Normally it is, let me tell you how much one bottle. And what I've done is, so normally, hold on, man. Okay, yeah. So normally $74.80 for one bottle, and I've added a 20% discount, and I'm giving away 3 bottles for $179. And because it's independence, I've added another 20%, so it's 40%, 45%, and you get 3 bottles. And this is one of the products that helps with that help with high blood pressure, that help with poor circulation. I want you to go on your by yourself, and I want you to look up nitric oxide. The person who I wouldn't say discovered, but the person who made nitric oxide popular, he got a Nobel Peace Prize for it. Nobel Peace Prize for quote unquote discovering nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is when you're very young, the body produces it naturally, but as we get older, our body produces less and less amount of it. Nitric oxide is what the body uses naturally to regulate the cardiovascular system. So as we get older, which is why as we get older, a lot of persons have circulatory issues, a lot of persons have high blood pressure, a lot of persons have cardiovascular disease. One of the main cause of that is because as we get older, our body produces less nitric oxide, and because our body produces less nitric oxide, the link is in the description. The link, Conseco is bookie. Don't buy it as yet because you're one of our affiliates, so I can give you you can still get it at a better price. So don't buy it as yet. Just reach out to me privately, because I want to support all of you, and that's the type of support I want to give everybody that's an affiliate. We want you to be empowered and be equipped to help persons. So nitric oxide is one of the substance, yes, vitality trends, and helps to relax, and it helps to widen the blood vessels. So I'm very excited because this is one of the products that we're I've just launched, and I'm putting out there to help persons with their cardiovascular issues. All right, with their cardiovascular issues. So for the we're doing normally 3. There's a promo code. If you check the description of the YouTube video, there's a code that's only going to be good until next week, Wednesday. So it's good for 1 week. So only for 1 week that this discount is viable. All right. So let me go back to Nareen says high sodium, high blood pressure. That is a result of high sodium. Good. Now let's go back to the chart. Let's remove this and go back to the chart. So high sodium. So a person has high blood pressure because they have high sodium. Now, sodium is a salt. Sodium is a salt that retains fluid. It causes water retention in the cells. And so a lot of people who have high blood pressure tend to have swelling, easily swelling. And so let's look at the chart. What we want is we want a herb that is going to help to remove that. Now the opposite, so that would be we want a herb that is drying. We want a herb that is drying. So a herb that would help with that would be herbs from the earth. Herbs from the earth. So herbs like guava leaves that are drying. Herbs like show button. Herbs like nodweed. Herbs like pine bark. So pine is one of the best herbs for high blood pressure. Pine, not pineapple, pine, because pine has also what is called resveratrol, which is very good for the cardiovascular system. Herbs like apple bark, OTT apple. OTT apple in Jamaica, the OTT apple bark is a powerful astringent. It's good for swelling. It's good for all of those inflammatory conditions. So a person who has high blood pressure, and here's another herb. A herb that is, so Nareen says high sodium. A person who has high blood pressure because of kidney problems. A herb that would help is what we call Chancapedra. And chanca piedra is what we call uh, simple bitter, simple bitter herbs. It will help with high blood pressure caused by kidney issue. Right now, a lady in England who is suffering from kidney issues, suffering from high blood pressure. She has been admitted in the hospital, and high blood pressure won't go down. So we're gonna try and see if we can guide her to get some chanca piedra for her, and we know that is gonna cause the pressure to just fall rapidly. But we're having she's also getting some stuff to decalcify the kidney. All right, and let me see what else is here. Uh, so give me some disease, guys. Give me some disease. I'm 20. I have 4 more minutes because my granddaughter keeps coming in. She wants to go to the beach, guys. She wants to go to the beach. So now what time? It's 4:26. Before it get dark. I have a few more minutes before it get dark. My grandbaby wants to go to the beach. So grandpa wants to go to the beach. All right. I don't see any more coming up. Say more coming up. But you know, as I said, guys, I wanted to do this video because it's independence, and you know, during our independence celebration, we talk about so many facets, so many area of our culture. We talk about the food, which is great. We talk about the music, which is great. We talk about the patois, the language, which is great. But we don't have anybody talking about the herbs, the herb that has kept us alive. And that to me is a very significant, very important part of our culture. So, Nareen says poor circulation. So, poor circulation, I guess you're talking about the blood now, not so much lymphedema. You're talking about the blood. Prostate. Man. Return to the seed. I don't know who that is, but you say you have some issues, some clients with prostate issues. So when you have prostate issues, you know, we can talk about that. I'd love to talk to you about prostate enlargement, because there are a number of things that cause prostate enlargement. Guys, it always goes back to the cause. All right. So poor circulation as it relates to the blood. Now, a lot of times when persons have poor circulation, it is because of the narrowing. So there's a number of things that can cause that. One is what we call the thickening of the blood. One, two, Louis Ignario. All right, very very good, Prudy Wilson. That's the doctor who discovered the nitric oxide. Dr. Louis Ignario. You can look him up, and very very brilliant man, and he has made a number of supplements, and he has helped so many persons with high blood pressure and with erectile dysfunction and a host of problems. Dr. Luis Ignario, he was the person who got the Nobel Peace Prize for his invention of the nitric oxide. So as I said, that this is our nitric oxide. And you can get it on our site. There's a link in the description, and I have a coupon there where you can that gives you a total of 45% off. All right. So the blood. We're going back to the blood. So there is the narrowing of the blood vessels, and the narrowing of the blood vessels causes poor circulation. There is the calcification of the blood vessels, where the blood vessel becomes hardened. So those are the three main things. So the thickening of the blood, the calcification of the blood vessels, and the narrowing of the blood vessels. All right, those are the three main causes of poor circulation. And so let's go to our chart. Let's go to our chart. Let's go to our chart. Now, when we go to the chart, we find that there is thickening. And by the way, I should say that when you're as a herbalist, one of the most difficult health condition to work with is high blood pressure. Why? Because most plants have a lot of iron in them, And if you have high blood pressure, that's not necessarily what you want, because that will thicken the blood and also help to uh, cause the pressure to go up. Right? So you have to be very careful. You want herbs, but you don't want herbs that are high in iron. Or if you give a herb that is high in iron, then you want to also give a herb that is an anticoagulant herb, a herb that will help to thin the blood. Good. So for the what you want is what we call, because notice, when a person has poor circulation, there is a lack of heat, there is coldness. What you want is warmth or heat. What you want is to remove stagnation, because that's what poor circulation does. Poor circulation causes stagnation, which is why the foot becomes black. So what you want is movement. What you want is to stimulate. And the best groups of herbs to cause stimulation is what we call aromatic herbs. So aromatic herbs are what you would need for circulation. So herbs like cayenne pepper, herbs like ginger, herbs like pimento. These herbs that are that bring circulation, that reverses stagnation. Because the opposite of that poor circulation, which is coldness or water, is fire. What you want is herbs from the fire groups. What you want is herbs that will bring movement, that will cause that will prevent stagnation. So going to the chart, I know that I need herbs that are from the fire energetic groups. I need fire. I need to remove stagnation. I need I need movement, and I need to remove that stagnation. So herbs like ginger, herbs like and there and a lot of these herbs are also diaphoretic. So when you take them, you know that there's fire because you sweat. It opens the pores and causes detoxification. So if you're having poor circulation, it means that there is stagnation. So usually where there's poor circulation, that's why you have ulcers developing or sores developing, because the area is not getting enough blood to support life. So there is death take place, and the skin begins to break. It gets soft, it gets break, and it can't heal because there's no blood to support the cells in that area. What you want is circulation. What you want is to remove stagnation. All right, guys, it's now 1 hour and 33 minutes, and I have to go. But I want to thank all of you for being on. As I said, I've not been on the 60 minutes with Mother Nature. I've had to take a pause because whereas I enjoy doing it, I can't afford to do it in the sense of time, because I don't do it because of the likes. I don't do it because of how many people are watching. I do it because I believe it's information that needs to go out. But the time is so valuable that I can't use my valuable time to do that, even though it's valuable, because I have to use that time to try to raise money to push the projects that I have to push. The projects that I'm going to be around for this week and next year. But the products, because when I work, I try to focus on what will live longer than me, what will be around even when I'm gone. So I'm busy working on the projects that will outlive me. All right? And so I believe that once I get back to subscriptions, when I talk about subscription, I'm not talking about subscription to the channel. I'm talking about subscription to the school, the Boston Institute of Natural Medicine. When you subscribe to the course that we have, I believe I will have the time, because subscription creates stable income that I will be able to use to fund my budgets. You know, a lot of times, I'm not here to tell you guys my business, but I have a lot of projects. We need a lot of new cameras, new computers, new stuff. It takes cash to care, and so the course was designed to be one of the ways in which I would be able to do that while offering valuable information. So my goal is really to offer myself and afford to offer myself the way I want to. So as I said, through subscription, it's not just going to be that you're going to be doing a course anymore. subscription will entail mentoring. So the goal is to work through you. So you're earning while you are learning, and the goal is that you'll just be able to observe what I'm doing. And I know I've tried in the past. I've tried in the past, and many times I had to stop. One thing that happened to us is that two times, we had a payment processor who decided not to partner with us. Payment processor who decided not to partner with us. Why? Because we are promoting natural products, and they don't want to be associated with collecting funds for natural products because of the laws and the policy in their part of the world. So there are many times that I started and then I had to stop. And so for the most part, I've been doing a lot of trials and error. But I believe I have a system now that is no longer trial and error. It is a system that works, and it's a system that is working. And so because I believe I've done enough trial and error, and I've found a way to put in place a system that can support what we're doing, I'm now able to put together a program. So this, as I said, the subscription for us is not about the money, because some of you guys will know, some of you don't know. There are a lot of persons that we work with that don't have the money. I just noticed that they have a heart, they have a desire, and that's what matters to me. But subscription is my way of determining who is serious from who is not serious, who is worth investing in from who is not investing in, who just wants to hustle from who takes it serious, and who wants to invest themselves. And I must say there are many of you that are like that. So, I have a system now. So I've created a subscription. So all the programs, all the courses that we offer, persons can buy them as standalone modules, or they can just pay the $39.99 for the entire program. So I'll give you the entire modules. But in addition to the additional modules, I'm now making myself available to work through you, and I'll tell you what that looks like. And I'm also willing to work through you so that you can earn, and then mentor you so that you can see what we're doing, and we can guide you every step of the way. So guys, I want to thank you for taking the time out, for being on with me. Very soon I'll be able to be on consistently as soon as I start the course, start the class, and once we get a good turnout, I'll be able to consistently do what I do. Consistency has not been we have not been able to be consistent because we've been interrupted by many challenges. And so once I believe we have these structures in place, we'll now be able to be consistent, because again, there's a lot that I do, and there are many times I'm not consistent because I don't have help and I can't afford to pay help. Once we have consistency, all that will change, because we'll have a budget and we'll be able to get persons who can help me, who can assist me in doing things so that I can be consistent. So sometimes I'm consistent, but sometimes the detriment of my health. I do it, but I can't do it for long because I'm tired. And so I want to make time for family, and I want to make time for other important things. So I have to create a system that is able to do what we want to do. So class starts the first Sunday in September. And what that is going to look like is I'm gonna come back on live, and I'm not going to just allow persons to do video. I'm gonna come on live and I'm gonna teach the course. When I can't come, at least there will be a video that persons will be able to watch. But I'll be coming on live so persons can ask me questions, we can interact, and I can share, I can take your questions. If you're working with somebody, we can use it as a case study. We can help you, help the person, and help the class just the same. So I'm going to do that. Also, I'll be having events where I meet up with persons. For persons in the States, I'm willing to come to the States because it's subscription. I can come and it's not work. So I can come and I can we can come together, and I can meet up with persons. I want to do that once per year, at least in the summer. So I'll make the commitment to come to the US and do that. Somebody made a wonderful property available to me in Georgia. I'm gonna take them up on it. It's about 56 acres that we can use. So there's just so much happening. So there's a 56-acre property in Georgia that I can now use to come and teach, and I'm gonna take the person up on that offer. And then for persons, so that's for persons who can't come to Jamaica, I'll come, and for persons who can come, they can come, and then we can have live sessions where we can not just theoretically tell you how to make medicine, we can show you how to make medicine. And for some of you who want to do special compounds, I'll work with you. There are some persons I'm working with now in developing herbal skincare products and supplements that they're taking internally and so on and so forth. There's so much that I do, and I want to be able to sustainably do it. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you for if you haven't subscribed to our channel, YouTube channel, please do. And as I say, hopefully next week, next month, or October, I will get back to my YouTube videos, and I'll talk about the spirit herbal spiritual herbalism, which is, I'm gonna start out by talking about how to use herbs. Hey Griffith, thank you. Guys, yeah, thank you, Vitality Trends. My granddaughter, her name is Amira, but I call her Shima. So she's outside waiting on me to take her to the beach. So I want to thank you guys for being on, and I'll see you when we have the next video. Bye bye.